Dubai just made a quiet announcement. 8 major landmarks are shutting down, not over years, but right now, in real time. No big headlines, no clear explanations, and when you look closer, it raises one big question. Why now? In this video, we're breaking down which landmarks are closing, what's really behind it, and what it could mean for the future of Dubai. Before we go landmark by landmark, you need to understand what Dubai actually is, because the story of these 8 closures only makes sense when you understand the economic logic that created them in the first place. Dubai has no meaningful oil reserves. This surprises people. The UAE has oil. Abu Dhabi has oil, vast quantities of it. But Dubai's oil revenue peaked in the 1990s, and by 2000, contributed less than 5% of its GDP. The ruling family of Dubai, the Al Maktoum dynasty, specifically Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, made a decision in the late 1990s that would define everything that followed. If Dubai cannot sell oil, Dubai will sell itself. The strategy was straightforward in concept and staggering in execution. Build things the world has never seen. Build them faster than anyone thinks possible. Photograph them, market them globally. Attract the tourists, the investors, the corporations, the wealthy residents who want an address that signals they have arrived. And use the revenue from all of that, the real estate sales, the hotel taxes, the financial services fees, to fund the next round of things the world has never seen. It worked. For a while, it worked spectacularly. Dubai's GDP grew from approximately $16 billion in 2000 to over $100 billion by 2014. The city's population tripled. International airlines added routes. Global corporations opened regional headquarters. The Burj Khalifa opened in 2010 and was immediately the most photographed structure on Earth. Palm Jumeirah, a palm-shaped artificial island built in the sea, sold luxury villas before the sand was fully settled. But here's what the brochure never mentioned. Every single one of those landmarks, every ski slope, every underwater hotel, every man-made island, every record-breaking tower, required not just enormous capital to build, but enormous continuous capital to maintain. Running an indoor ski slope in a desert city that sits at 45 degrees Celsius for 5 months a year is not a hospitality operation. It is an industrial refrigeration project. Running an underwater hotel requires continuous pressurization systems, corrosion management, and structural monitoring that costs more per square foot per year than almost any other building typology on Earth. Landmark 01 Ski Dubai, the indoor slope that the desert was never supposed to have. Ski Dubai opened in 2005 inside the Mall of the Emirates in the Al Barsha district. It was, and remains, one of the most audacious hospitality concepts ever executed. A 22,500 square meter indoor ski slope with real snow, real chairlifts, a black run, a freestyle zone, and a snow park for children, sitting inside a shopping mall in a city where the ambient temperature outside the window regularly exceeds 45 degrees Celsius. It was not just a tourist attraction, it was a statement. A piece of pure provocation aimed at the world. We can build winter inside a desert, and we will charge you to come and see it. For the first decade, it worked. It drew visitors not just from within Dubai, but from across the Gulf. Families from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, driving or flying in for the experience of standing in snow while their home country baked. At peak operation, it was processing upward of 400,000 visitors annually. The images, children in ski suits, snow machines running, the glass facade of the mall visible behind the slope, were reproduced in travel media globally. Then, the numbers started moving in the wrong direction. Running that facility requires refrigeration systems, operating continuously in one of the hottest environments on the planet. The energy cost alone, not the staffing, not the maintenance, not the snow production, just the electricity to keep 22,500 square meters at -1 degree Celsius while the city outside sits at 46, runs into tens of millions of dollars annually. When visitor volumes declined and the energy costs stayed fixed, the margin collapsed. Ski Dubai has been operating in a reduced state since 2022. Sections of the slope closed, certain experiences suspended, staff numbers visibly reduced. Official statements describe this as seasonal restructuring. Workers at the facility described it differently. They described a management team that had stopped long-term planning, stopped replacing equipment when it broke, and started having conversations about operational viability that nobody was having 3 years ago. Ski Dubai is not closed, it is diminished. And in a city built on spectacle, diminishment is a kind of death. Landmark 02, Atlantis Aquaventure Water Park. The slide that the world used to queue 3 hours for Atlantis. The Palm opened on Palm Jumeirah in 2008 with a $20 million launch party. Fireworks visible from space. A guest list that included Robert De Niro, Kylie Minogue, and Janet Jackson. A hotel bill for the evening that exceeded the GDP of several small nations. The centerpiece of the property was Aquaventure, a water park with 105 rides and attractions, a private beach, and a slide called the Leap of Faith that dropped riders nearly vertically through a shark-filled lagoon in a transparent tube. It was exactly as ridiculous as it sounds, and it was magnificent. Aquaventure's closure announcement came with language that described it as a transition period ahead of a major redevelopment. What the announcement did not describe was the timeline, because there is no confirmed timeline. The redevelopment has been announced. The groundbreaking has not happened. In the gap between announcement and action, 105 rides sit idle on a man-made island in the Persian Gulf, and the staff who ran them have been scattered across other Atlantis properties or let go entirely. The Atlantis Property Group is owned by the Kerzner International Holdings, backed in part by Istithmar World, a Dubai government-linked investment vehicle. The financial performance of the Aquaventure Park had been declining since 2019. Competition from newer, larger water parks, most notably Laguna Water Park and Legoland Water Park, within Dubai Parks and Resorts, had been drawing the family demographic that Aquaventure historically owned. When a $20 billion artificial island asset starts losing the family market to a competitor that is newer and cheaper to reach, the math on a 105-ride water park stops working quickly. The Leap of Faith slide still stands. Nobody is riding it. And the sharks in the lagoon below it are still being fed, because the marine life contract has to be maintained regardless of whether anyone is watching them from a transparent tube overhead. Landmark 03, Dubai Creek Golf and Yacht Club. The postcard that built a city's identity. If you have ever seen a photograph of old Dubai, the Dubai before the skyscrapers, before the marina, before the Palm, there is one image that appears more than any other. A white tent-shaped clubhouse on the bank of Dubai Creek, reflected in still water at dusk. Dhows in the background. The whole scene lit in amber and gold. That is the Dubai Creek Golf and Yacht Club. It opened in 1993, and for 3 decades, it was the defining image of Dubai's aspirational identity. Elegant, quiet. A place where old money and new money sat at the same bar and looked at the same water. The club has been progressively shutting down its core operations since late 2023. The golf course, 18 holes on the creek, designed by Carl Litton, has been undergoing what management calls greens renovation. The yacht club facilities have been quietly decommissioned. The restaurant operations that once drew the city's business elite have contracted to a single dining space, operating at a fraction of historical capacity. The reason is structural and specific: the land. Dubai Creek Golf and Yacht Club sits on some of the most valuable real estate in the emirate. Waterfront land in a central district that has been identified for densification under Dubai's 2040 Urban Master Plan. A golf course in the middle of a city that is trying to build more residential and commercial density is an inefficient use of 648,000 square meters. The closure is not a hospitality failure. It is a land development decision. The club was never going to survive the master plan. The image that built Dubai's brand for 30 years is being quietly retired to make room for towers. That is either progress or irony, depending on where you are standing. Landmark 04, Dubai Dolphinarium, the show that the world eventually stopped accepting. The Dubai Dolphinarium opened in 2008 inside Creek Park, offering live dolphin and seal performances to an audience that, for most of its operational life, included a significant proportion of families visiting Dubai on package holidays. At peak, it was one of the most visited paid attractions in the city, not because of its scale, which was modest compared to the mega projects, but because of its price point. In a city where a day at the beach club costs $200 per person, a dolphin show at $30 was accessible. The closure came in 2023, officially attributed to facility maintenance and review. What the review was reviewing was never specified. What it was actually responding to was a decade of mounting international pressure on marine mammal captivity operations. The same pressure that had closed SeaWorld's orca breeding program, that had ended dolphin performances at dozens of facilities across Europe and North America, that had turned Dolphin Show from a family attraction into a reputational liability for any city trying to attract the premium Western tourist who increasingly makes travel decisions based on ethical criteria. Dubai read the room late, years after the scientific consensus on cetacean captivity had been established, years after the documentaries had run, years after the petitions had circulated, but eventually. The Dolphinarium closed without fanfare, which is itself a form of acknowledgement. If they had believed the closure was a good news story, they would have announced it loudly. They did not announce it at all. It was just gone one morning. The sign still on the building, the staff dispersed, the website no longer updated. Landmark 05, Ibn Battuta Mall. The themed retail palace that retail killed Ibn Battuta Mall opened in 2005 as the world's largest themed shopping mall. 6 courts, each designed to represent a region of the world explored by the 14th century Moroccan explorer Ibn Battuta: Andalusia, Tunisia, Egypt, Persia, India, China. The interior design was extraordinary. Hand-painted ceilings, tile work that took craftsmen years to complete, a full-scale replica of a Chinese junk ship suspended inside the China court. It was not just retail space. It was a museum you could buy sneakers in. It is now, by any honest assessment, dying. Not all of it. The mall technically remains open, but the vacancy rate across its 270,000 square meters of retail space has climbed steadily since 2019. International anchor tenants that occupied entire courts have departed. The theming, the tiles, the ceilings, the painted murals, goes unmaintained in the sections where the tenants have gone. A cracked mosaic in the Persia court that was there 18 months ago is still cracked. Nobody has sent a craftsman. Dubai has more retail space per capita than any city on Earth, approximately 1.2 square meters of mall space for every resident. That number was calculated when the resident population was smaller, and online retail was a smaller share of consumer spending. By 2024, both of those variables had moved significantly in the wrong direction. The result is a city with a structural oversupply of retail space, too many malls, too few shoppers to fill them, and a tourist demographic that increasingly comes to Dubai for experiences rather than transactions. A themed shopping mall in that environment is not a destination. It is a liability with decorative tile work. Ibn Battuta built his legacy by going to places no one else would go. The mall named after him is slowly becoming one of those places. Landmark 06, Global Village, the cultural fair that became a cautionary tale about permanence. Global Village is one of Dubai's longest-running tourist attractions, a seasonal outdoor festival park that opens each October and runs through April, featuring pavilions from over 90 countries, each selling food, crafts, and cultural products from their home nation. At its peak, it was drawing over 7 million visitors a season. It was the most democratic attraction in Dubai, affordable, accessible, open to the full spectrum of the city's population in a way that very few venues in Dubai manage. What has happened to Global Village is not a closure. Not yet. It is something more insidious. It is slow suffocation under the weight of its own commercial success. The pavilions have become less about culture and more about retail. The food quality has declined as vendors have been replaced by franchise operations optimizing for margin. Admission prices have risen steadily. Infrastructure that was always temporary has never been upgraded to permanent because the land it sits on, in Dubai Land, on the outskirts of the city, has been earmarked for development that has never quite materialized. 3 pavilions from smaller nations, countries whose presence gave the event its genuine cross-cultural texture, did not return for the 2024 season. No announcement, no explanation. Empty footprints where their structures used to stand, quickly filled by expanded retail operations from larger commercial pavilions. The soul of it is leaving quietly, pavilion by pavilion, while the ticketing revenue holds and the lights stay on. Global Village is still open, but what made it worth visiting is being slowly replaced by what makes it profitable. Those are not the same thing. Landmark 07. The Dubai frame, the $450 million picture frame nobody needed. The Dubai frame opened in 2018. It is exactly what it sounds like. A 150-meter tall rectangular frame built in Zabil Park, designed so that if you stand at the right angle, you can see old Dubai through one side and new Dubai through the other. The concept is genuinely clever. A literal frame around the city's transformation, a physical metaphor for the gap between the fishing village of 1960 and the global megalopolis of 2018. The execution was troubled from the start. The architect, Fernando Donis, stated publicly and repeatedly that he had not been properly credited or compensated for the design, which he claimed had been taken from a competition submission without authorization. The legal dispute dragged through international arbitration for years. The controversy made international headlines. And then, as controversies do when they are expensive and unresolved, it faded from the front pages, and the Dubai frame continued operating. The problem is that the Dubai frame is experientially a 20-minute attraction. You go up, you look through the glass floor, you take the photo. You look at old Dubai on one side and new Dubai on the other, then you go back down. That is the experience. And in a city where the competition for tourist time includes the Burj Khalifa, the Museum of the Future, the Dubai Mall, and 100 other options. A 20-minute attraction with an intellectual concept but a limited experiential depth does not generate repeat visitors. It generates one visit, one photograph, and then absence. Visitor numbers at the Dubai frame have declined significantly from the opening year spike. Revenue projections that justified its construction have not been met in any year since 2019. There are no announced closure plans. There is simply, increasingly, nobody visiting. And the cost of maintaining a 150-meter steel structure in a coastal desert environment does not decrease because the visitors have stopped coming. It is still open. It is also, financially, slowly failing. That distinction matters less than it should. Landmark 08, Jumeirah Skeira, the tallest water slide outside a theme park, standing silent. Wild Wadi Water Park opened in 1999, and for over a decade was one of Dubai's most beloved family attractions. A water park on the Jumeirah beachfront, themed around an Arabian adventure story, with 30 rides including Jumeirah Skeira, a freefall water slide that dropped riders 33 meters at speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour. It was the tallest and fastest water slide outside a dedicated theme park in the world when it opened. People flew to Dubai specifically to ride it. Wild Wadi has been significantly scaled back. Jumeirah Skeira, the signature attraction, the reason many visitors came, has been out of operation since late 2022, listed as under maintenance on the park's official communications. Maintenance that lasts 2 years on a flagship attraction is not maintenance. It is a financial decision about whether the cost of restoration and certification exceeds the revenue the attraction generates.